During the lively water festival, chaos suddenly erupts when a man goes completely berserk, attacking innocent civilians like a wild beast. The entire street descends into madness in an instant. Although the military arrives quickly, they're powerless to stop the rapid spread of the zombie virus. Their only option is to cover it up, falsely claiming the festival was attacked by a gunman. This is the setup for the 2025 Thai zombie drama Happiness, a must-watch for fans of the genre. The story kicks off with the main character, Pratt, receiving a call about a suspected fight breaking out at a local hotel. He and his partner rush to investigate. Guided by the hotel owner, they reach the room where the incident reportedly occurred. The moment they open the door, they're stunned by the scene inside. Blood splattered across the floor and walls, and a man lying motionless on the bed. Pratt steps closer to check him out and notices a deep bite mark on the man's neck. It's clear he's already dead, but something feels off to Pratt's partner. The owner said 2 people went into the room, yet there's only 1 body. Just then, a noise comes from behind the bar cabinet. With guns drawn, they cautiously approach and find a woman covered in blood, sobbing uncontrollably. When more colleagues arrive at the scene, the woman finally regains her composure. She explains that she and her boyfriend were celebrating the water festival, and maybe because of the heat, she suddenly felt dizzy. Her boyfriend brought her back to the hotel to rest. She only remembers being incredibly thirsty, and when she woke up, she found her boyfriend brutally dead on the bed. Pratt's expression darkens immediately. He can tell she's lying. He asks her directly, "Did you take something?" The woman instinctively shakes her head, but can't quite meet his eyes. She recalls her boyfriend once gave her a small pill. Back at the hotel, she drank water desperately, until her boyfriend sensed something was wrong and came to check on her. Then, veins bulged on her back, and she lost control, attacking her boyfriend. The screams alerted the hotel owner, who immediately called the police. Pratt reviews the surveillance footage again and again, feeling that something about this case just doesn't add up. As he's about to leave with the footage to investigate further, a man in military uniform blocks his path. Claiming to be from a secretive special forces unit, the officer demands that Pratt hand over the surveillance tape and keep everything under wraps. Just as Pratt is about to refuse, his police chief calls, ordering him to cooperate fully with the military's demands. After returning to the station, Pratt immediately goes to his chief. He insists there's something seriously off about the case. There's no way an ordinary woman could have overpowered and killed a grown man like that. But the chief doesn't want to hear it. Orders from higher up have made one thing clear. Any case like this is now strictly under military jurisdiction. Still unconvinced, Pratt watches the military officer closely. He asks what the army plans to do with the female suspect. The officer gives a cryptic response. She needs to be quarantined. Then, out of the blue, he tries to recruit Pratt, calling him the most capable officer on the force. Pratt doesn't say yes. He simply takes the business card and walks away. Later that evening, finally off duty, Pratt meets up with his best friend Run to talk things through. The two of them go way back, same police academy, now working side by side at the same station. Anytime Pratt hits a wall during an investigation, Run is his go-to sounding board. He lays out the entire bizarre case, hoping for some insight. But tonight, Run stays unusually quiet. Turns out, she's had a rough day of her own. Run lives with her aging father in a rundown apartment building. The neighbors are a rough bunch, a real mixed bag, and the environment is far from ideal. One day, the peace is shattered by a woman's desperate cries from outside. It's the neighborhood drunk causing a scene again. Run's sense of justice kicks in immediately. She steps outside and cuffs the drunk without hesitation. As she's about to comfort the upset neighbor, her father suddenly appears, pulling her back. He thinks she's overstepping, that it's none of her business and she shouldn't get involved. That hits a nerve with Run. She finally lets out what she's been holding inside for a long time. Maybe we should move somewhere else. This place is just too toxic. But her father shuts her down instantly, refusing to burden her with the weight of debt at such a young age. Knowing she can't convince her stubborn dad, Run turns to Pratt to vent her frustrations. But the very next day at work, things take a turn for the worse. Run gets a call about a disturbance. She rushes to the scene with her partner, Top. To her shock, the troublemaker turns out to be her own drunken neighbor. He's already injured a colleague and is now holding his wife hostage, refusing to let the police get close. Run stepped forward, trying to distract the drunken man, but unexpectedly, the usually gentle neighbor suddenly bit into him. Reacting quickly, Run kicked and disarmed the drunk, who then fiercely fought back and managed to flee the scene. But he didn't get far before his wife tackled him to the ground. Run cautiously approached, and to her horror, she saw the neighbor's body twist and contort. When the woman turned around, she had transformed into a ferocious, bloodthirsty monster. Fortunately, Top was quick on his feet and pushed Run away just in time. However, the transformed woman was incredibly fast. Like a whirlwind, she was suddenly at Run's feet. Run fell to the ground, struggling desperately, when suddenly a gunshot rang out. Top had returned just in time to back her up. A series of quick shots later, the zombified neighbor was handcuffed and subdued. As they prepared to take her back to the station, that mysterious military unit appeared again. Without a word, they immediately started cleaning up the scene with practiced efficiency. While searching the area, Top noticed a small red pill on the floor. Without anyone seeing, he slipped it into his pocket. Run, curious and unsettled, wondered where the military was taking the transformed neighbor. The officer in charge ignored her question, instead fixating coldly on the wound on Run's neck. Then, in an icy tone, he declared that Run herself would have to be taken to a treatment center for quarantine. Though filled with doubts and unease, the woman, Run, followed the military vehicle out to a building on the outskirts of the city. The place was heavily guarded, clearly under military control. This had to be the treatment center the officer had mentioned. After passing through multiple security checks, Run was taken to a medical room to have samples drawn for testing. Naively, she thought she would be able to go home soon. But then came the cold news. She would have to stay in isolation for 24 hours. Run couldn't understand why a minor surface wound had to be treated like she was infected with a world-ending virus. Still, she couldn't resist the icy stare of the officer. She was escorted by guards through layers of heavy iron doors until finally, she was led into a small, solitary room. The officer dropped a grim line before leaving. "If you show no signs of infection by tomorrow, you can leave." Suddenly, a chilling realization hit her. There was a real possibility she could turn into a bloodthirsty monster like her neighbor. The room felt eerily cold, and the faint stains of blood smeared on the walls hinted at horrors suffered by those who came before her. What Run didn't know was that this very building held countless suspected infected, most of them already lost to madness and frenzy. Meanwhile, Pratt chose to ignore the police chief's orders and continued his own secret investigation into the murder at the hotel. Lab tests on the female suspect revealed traces of a mysterious drug in her bloodstream. The exact nature of the substance was still unknown, as the testing center hadn't provided a clear answer yet. That very night, Pratt received a call from Top with disturbing news. The drunk neighbor involved in the daytime murder case was also connected to the same drug. The next morning, Pratt drove out to the quarantine center in the suburbs, following the address on the mysterious officer's business card. He went straight to the officer and pulled out the red pill that Top had found. Pratt was almost certain the officer recognized the drug because it had appeared in several recent murder cases he was involved with. Without hesitation, the officer laid it all out. This drug was responsible for infecting people with a savage virus. Early symptoms included an unbearable thirst, followed by a complete loss of consciousness, except for a primitive, bloodthirsty impulse that took over. Over the past few days, dozens of violent incidents involving infected individuals had already broken out. In response, high-ranking officials formed a secret military unit tasked with containing the outbreak. Unfortunately, they hadn't found the drug's source, nor developed any cure for the virus. Their only option was to isolate those infected and keep the entire situation under wraps to prevent public panic. That's why the officer urgently needed capable cops like Pratt to join his operation. At this moment, Pratt finally learns that his close friend Run has also been brought to the quarantine center for isolation. Luckily, her test results show no signs of infection. Still, the officer remains cautious and only allows Run to leave after confirming she hasn't developed the telltale symptom, the intense thirst. As Run walks down the sterile hallway, she unexpectedly spots her neighbor, the woman who had been unconscious, regaining awareness. Something stirs inside Run. Without hesitation, she grabs the neighbor's room key and blocks the guard from entering. With a burst of urgency, Run rushes into the room, desperate to understand what's happening to the woman. The neighbor repeats the chilling words, "I'm so thirsty," followed by, "Someone brought medicine." Before Run can process this, the neighbor's eyes suddenly flash blood red. In an instant, she pushes Run hard to the ground. Back in the control room, Pratt hears the commotion and races to the quarantine area. Seeing Run in danger, he quickly draws his gun and shoots at the door locked to break it open. A bullet fires past the neighbor's back, but shockingly, she seems unfazed, acting as if nothing happened. Pratt aims for her head, ready to pull the trigger, but Run shouts out to stop him. Just then, a group of soldiers seize the opportunity to intervene, finally bringing the violent chaos under control. But Pratt's worries only deepen. From the military officer, he learns that this virus spreads through blood. Any bite or scratch could pass on the infection. Run quickly realizes the grim truth. This building is essentially a quarantine camp full of infected individuals. The officer sighs, admitting that containment is their only option right now. To stop the outbreak, they must find whoever is behind the distribution of those mysterious red pills. Once again, the officer extends an olive branch, asking Run and Pratt to assist in the investigation, and promises to meet any conditions they set. Run thinks of the new apartment she's been dreaming about and offers it as her condition for helping out. Pratt, knowing Run's motives aren't purely personal, she genuinely wants to stop the virus before it harms more people, immediately agrees and pledges to do everything in his power to support the investigation. What they don't realize, however, is that the officer has another reason for wanting Run on his team. It turns out Run's body is unique. Her blood contains the virus, but unlike others, she miraculously recovers within 24 hours. Because of this, the officer decides to keep Run close as a special case under close watch. Meanwhile, Run and Pratt are back in the interrogation room with the neighbor lady. Turns out, as long as the virus hasn't fully activated, the infected can actually remain conscious and coherent. She recalls someone approaching her at work a few days ago, offering her one of those red pills. They claimed it would boost her energy and keep her from feeling tired. What happened after she took it? That's where her memory goes blank. Using her statement as a lead, Pratt pulls up surveillance footage from her workplace, and sure enough, he spots a suspicious-looking man. The guy's wearing a bulky jacket, moving around nervously, and most noticeably, he has a strange symbol carved into his arm. Pratt instructs his team to keep tracking the man. If they're lucky, this could be the lead that cracks the whole case wide open. Back at the station, Run officially checks in again. Top, her longtime colleague, seems visibly shaken by her sudden return. He keeps asking what happened to the female suspect from before. Run casually tells him she spent time in a medical facility for observation. She doesn't notice the subtle shift in Top's expression. Later that afternoon, Run invites Pratt to check out a new apartment complex she's been eyeing for a while. The neighborhood is clean, quiet, and upscale, with great amenities and respectful neighbors. Caught up in the moment, Run makes a snap decision and buys the place on the spot. But before they could even leave the neighborhood, Pratt's phone buzzed. It was his partner, with a breakthrough. The suspicious man in black actually lives right in the complex Run just bought into. No doubt about it, this drug dealer is a ticking time bomb, ready to turn the whole community into a nightmare. Unfortunately, since Run already signed the purchase contract earlier that afternoon, backing out is off the table. The only solution? Delay her father's move-in and have her and Pratt pose as a married couple living there. This way, they can keep a low profile and dig out the dealer without raising suspicion. Pratt thinks it's a brilliant plan, and secretly, the idea of being married to Run sends a strange little thrill through him. The next morning, Run shows up at the police station as usual. Out of nowhere, Top brings up the murder case from days before. He reveals that he got scratched by the infected neighbor lady during the chaos. Run's heart sinks. Though several days have passed, she can't shake the worry that Top might still be infected. Without hesitation, she rushes him straight to the quarantine center. The deputy officer takes the threat seriously too, immediately drawing blood samples from Top. To test if he's infected, she even pours him a glass of water, then locks him alone in the medical room, handcuffed for safety. But when Run returned later, she found Top was already gone. It turned out he'd hidden the handcuff key in advance. Once everyone left, quietly slipped back into the quarantine area. Along the way, he spotted a strange patient passing by, and something clicked inside him. He hurried after them. He watched as medical staff took the patient to a room at the far end of the hallway. After the staff left, Top pried open layer after layer of isolation doors and stepped inside. What he found shocked him. It was a morgue. Behind a plastic curtain lay rows and rows of corpses. In reality, Top wasn't injured at all. He had carved the wounds himself. His real goal was to follow Run into this medical center. His mother had also been infected with the madness virus, and desperate to find a cure, he risked sneaking in. But what he discovered crushed him. The final fate for the infected was death. Faced with this grim truth, Top thought of a risky plan. Expose what was happening here to the public. Maybe by drawing attention, they could speed up the research for a cure. For most citizens, this was the first time hearing about the madness virus, and many thought it was just some hoax. Suddenly, during the live broadcast, a low, guttural growl echoed through the speakers. The dead infected had come back to life. Like bloodthirsty demons, they all lunged at Top. Back inside the quarantine center, alarms blared nonstop, but the staff dared not open the morgue door. Could only watch through the window as Top slowly fell to the ground. Just then, the officer arrived, hearing the commotion. Without hesitation, He pulled out a high-explosive grenade and tossed it into the room. That's a wrap on episodes 1 and 2 of Happiness. Judging by the storyline, it does seem a bit similar to the Korean drama of the same name from 4 years ago. If you remember that one, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.